Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on December 1st, 2025. This meeting included comments and discussion about amending the city's vegetation ordinance to allow taller growth, paying $19,500 to settle litigation against the city, directing a written summary of terms in a public-private partnership agreement, and approving a $5 million Brownfield plan to support affordable homes in the Ann Arbor Community Land Trust. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on December 1st, 2025. There was one vote of dissent on amendments to the vegetation ordinance. All agenda items were approved. There were two absences, Councilmember Ghazi Edwin from Ward 3 and Councilmember Akman from Ward 4. Both were first elected in November 2022. For Edwin, this was her 19th absence. For Akman, this was her 11th absence. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at A2Council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. The meeting included an update from Stephanie Carter, Chair of the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission.
We have a policy committee that's been reviewing all of the policies for the Ann Arbor Police Department. So far, they've reviewed 130 policies. 3 of the commissioners, including myself, did go to the NACOL conference in November. That's the National Association of Oversight Agencies, and it is across the country. We're also going to be working on our annual report for 2025, and hopefully we'll have that to you by February of next year.
After introductory remarks, public comments, and staff explanations, Council discussed agenda items for about 20 minutes. 17 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 3 people spoke to topics on the agenda. The consent agenda this week included 12 items and expenditures of just over $3 million. Nothing was pulled for discussion. Council considered final approval for amendments to the city's vegetation ordinance. Changes will allow taller vegetation on private property adjacent to sidewalks and streets, with a 30-inch height limit in sight triangles at corners. At a public hearing, a resident weighed in.
I believe that we need some type of a communication to homeowners to let them know that we are going to start enforcing this, because I would say that in my neighborhood, at least 25% of the homes are no longer in compliance, and this is going to be quite shocking if they simply get a reminder on their door.
Council discussed it for about 5 minutes.
And so what this ordinance change does is essentially remove the 12-inch height limit for lawns to enable native landscapes to be created, pollinator-friendly habitats.
By friendly amendment, Council added a reference to shrubs.
I just feel really grateful that it looks so simple, but it just wasn't simple at all. This is a really important ordinance, and again, my gratitude.
One council member spoke in opposition.
I communicated with the fire chief about my concerns that unmaintained turf grass, particularly in dry summer months, is highly flammable and can act as ladder fuel to spread fires.
He quoted the 2021 International Fire Code and the city's fire chief.
Weeds, grass, vines, and other growth that is capable of being ignited and endangering property shall be cut down and removed by the owner or occupant of the premises. And I continue to have concerns about encouraging new non-native habitats for pests like mosquitoes, ticks, fleas, and rodents that pose public health risks. These are concerns shared by our fire chief as well, who said, quote, "I share your concerns about removing a tool that helps us address blighted or vacant properties and reduce habitats for pests such as ticks and rodents. AAFD participates in the Regional Hoarding Task Force, and we frequently see a strong correlation between interior hoarding conditions and exterior overgrowth or accumulation."
The ordinance amendments were approved, with only Councilmember Redina in opposition. Without discussion, Council unanimously approved the settlement of litigation for $19,500. Council then considered a resolution directing the city administrator to prepare a memo for the public that will summarize the key negotiated deal points for a public-private partnership with the developers of a project called Arbor South. A written agreement, over 100 pages of text, describes commitments that the city will spend $160 million on parking decks to meet the needs of residents and visitors to Arbor South. A number of details in that agreement have been muddled or confused in council communications to the public. Multiple council members have asserted that the project includes over 200 units of affordable housing, but the agreement commits to only a minimum of 150. Council members have praised the project for providing these units, but the city's Housing Commission is actually buying them from the developer. In September 2024, the Housing Commission discussed the need to raise $8 to $12 million to buy these affordable housing units at Arbor South. More recently, that number has jumped higher. In November 2025, a staff memo clarified that the city's investment would be $18 million, backed by the affordable housing millage. The public-private partnership makes clear that the residents of those affordable units have no rights to any of the parking spaces in the decks that would be owned and operated by the city. One council member has told her constituents that the city won't be buying the land for those parking decks, but the written agreement explains clearly that the city would agree to buy 3 unimproved parcels of land at price points adding up to $12 million. Earlier in the evening, public commenters offered feedback.
This is a project that I want to be able to support, but I still have very conflicted thoughts on it. I hope the summary will change my mind or at least help me better articulate my concerns.
The land that the parking structure and the Ann Arbor housing complex is going to be on, is that land going to be given to the city for the parking structure? Or is that land going to be given to the Ann Arbor housing complex? Or is the developer just going to be paying taxes on the whole thing?
Council discussed it for about 3 minutes.
The purpose of this summary is to answer public concerns about the terms of the partnership between the city and the developer.
There is an information asymmetry between council members and members of the public because we have access to confidential information. We have access to staff expertise. And while we as a municipal organization and a group make, I think, great efforts and usually typically successful efforts to be transparent and communicative, nevertheless, that information asymmetry exists.
This is a highly technical document, and I know personally, easy to get confused around the details of it.
Council voted unanimously to approve the resolution directing the city administrator to produce a written summary of the key negotiated deal points in the public-private partnership agreement. Finally, Council considered a Brownfield plan to support affordable housing projects called Townie Homes on 10 different parcels. The homes will be developed by the nonprofit Ann Arbor Community Land Trust with an ownership model that maintains affordability for families below the area median income. For properties in the community trust, eligible buyers with lower incomes can purchase homes and build equity while agreeing to pass on those savings to the next home buyer. The Brownfield plan considered this week will use $5 million in tax incremental financing to subsidize the cost of building 26 2- to 3-bedroom homes. The homes will be sold below cost to households earning 30 to 90% of the area median income. The homes must remain affordable for at least 30 years, but they are expected to remain affordable for much longer as part of the community trust. At a public hearing earlier in the evening, commenters spoke out in support.
This has really been a wonderful collaboration of people coming together to try to solve a significant problem for our community, and it's been delightful to work with everyone who's contributed to this effort over the last 2 years.
This will provide housing for essential workers in our community with a relatively small subsidy in the form of a TIF funding.
Thank you so much for voting on this tonight.
These homes remain affordable because they are held within the Community Land Trust, a model designed for long-term stability and generational affordability.
It's important to understand that law was changed in 2023 to allow affordability to be able to capture taxes that were not being charged now, in addition to a brownfield or environmental cleanup. So it's a great new change in the state law that is making this all happen.
There's nothing in Ann Arbor right now that the market's doing to provide that kind of home ownership opportunities, and this is not something that's provided for with some of our other programs that do help people find housing and create new housing in Ann Arbor, but most of those are rental housing. So the ability for somebody to be able to buy a home in Ann Arbor, this is a unique opportunity.
I'm glad that multiple people have already responded to the comment about TIF funding, and I hope that the council will support this.
We should really be considering all of the difficulties that the Community Land Trust had in getting to this point, and ensure that as many of those things that they had to jump through hoops for before are in fact available for everyone to do by right as soon as possible.
Council made statements in support for about 10 minutes.
To ensure affordability, the homes will be deed restricted so that they can only be sold to households at incomes ranging from 60 to 80, 30 to 90% of AMI.
This to me is really exciting because it's the first since I've served on council when we're going to really address that missing middle representation in the market.
Brownfield plans are an impactful tool in our toolbox, and I'm excited to see us planning to use it in this way to cover the affordability gap for these planned houses.
Appreciate all the work that the Community Land Trust has been doing on this.
I just want to congratulate everybody who's been involved in this. Thank you for the hard work that's gone into it.
I'm grateful for staff, both county and city, for working together and working with the Community Land Trust to enable us to participate in this way.
Council voted unanimously to approve the Brownfield plan in support of the Townie homes. This week's agenda included a communication from the Local Officers Compensation Commission directing an increase in salaries for city council members and the mayor. Since November 2022, all elected members of City Council were endorsed by and are allied with Mayor Christopher Taylor. Absences are a new norm. A majority of current members have missed at least 10% of meetings and work sessions. One member has missed nearly 20%. In a typical meeting, all agenda items are approved unanimously, without debate or discussion. Most meetings end before 9 p.m. Multiple boards and commissions have been eliminated and no longer require council participation. In 2024, Council granted themselves extra benefits, approving $5,000 in annual travel budget for each member. Subsequently, Council rules were amended to allow international travel with that budget. Council also approved spending $100,000 of city budget on mailers for current members and the mayor to promote themselves between election cycles. State law directs that the recommendations of the Compensation Commission are automatically adopted unless a 2/3 majority of council votes to reject it. This week, it was not discussed. Beginning in 2026, current council members will be paid almost $35,000 and the mayor will be paid almost $56,000. Both positions are considered part-time. This year, the Compensation Commission noted that the salaries for Ann Arbor officials are larger than those in peer cities, but they explained that the city's budget is also larger.
We have a budget of over $600 million a year. That's over $500 million a year. Our taxable value in the city of Ann Arbor is $8.5 billion. And this council is responsible for overseeing. Given those metrics, we kind of blow away virtually every other community in the state of Michigan with the scope and scale of the services and just kind of the scale of the operations here.
This week's council meeting adjourned before 8:45 p.m. with no additional public comment. For more information about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
The eagle-eyed among you may note that in the definitions section of this ordinance, we define shrub separately from vegetation, which is further down in the definitions list. Since we make this distinction at the start of the ordinance, we have to add shrubs to the list in section 314 to specify that shrubs should not be allowed to block the view of pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. And we include shrubs to ensure that residents understand that shrubs need to be trimmed to allow for 8 feet of clearance over sidewalks and 15 feet of clearance over streets, and that shrubs shouldn't be grown above 30 inches within the site triangle.
Well, what is it you want? We want a shrubbery!